So a few days ago, I was chatting with a friend of mine here in LA, and he happens to be an AI engineer. He's making pretty decent money as well, about $275,000 a year. We were discussing various topics over lunch, and one of the topics that crossed the table was with regards to actually owning a business. And he was saying that owning a business is actually very stressful, and he couldn't ever imagine himself in my shoes, having to deal with so many clients and such. And I said, you bring up an interesting point because I have a very amazing client that I'm working with, and this same client happens to be one that spent already $480,000 across the course of the time they've been with us since August. So their LTV thus far is $480,000. Now, and we're still working with them. And I told him this was probably easier for me to make this much money from this client and more enjoyable than working any 9 to 5 that I've ever had in my life. And he was a bit puzzled. We got into an argument, and essentially he wanted to prove to me that, okay, this is not the case for all businesses. And I said, definitely not the case for all businesses. But I said, more often than not, a business is much simpler and in some cases even easier to have and to run and to scale than a traditional 9 to 5 job, especially in the software engineering space. And in this video, that is exactly what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you why and how a business is actually simpler and easier to not only run, but also scale than a 9 to 5 job. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I'm not the only one saying this. A bunch of my students will also share the same exact hypothesis with you after they've gotten the results they've gotten. If you want to stop the screen and take a look at it, more than welcome to. I'm going to go to the next slide. So let's first understand what the common misconceptions are. I guess I shouldn't call it misconception. Let's take a look at what the common assumptions are with regards to a business. So people often think that a business essentially entails constant chaos, endless hustle, and a lot of stress. And a 9 to 5 on the other side is chill, easy, with way less stress. But obviously, we know reality is slightly different to this. So business it could have constant chaos, endless hustle, and stress, but that's in the early stages. And of course, it's challenging, just as is with pretty much anything that you're going to start for the first time. And it's similar to learning to ride a bike without training wheels. At first, it's hard, but then you get used to it. And once it's actually set up, a good business smooths out your entire path. It's kind of like asking a traveler if driving their own car is more stressful than taking the bus. At first, it might be, especially if they're getting used to the city and the landscape and so on and so forth. But over time, the car will eventually offer way more freedom than the bus ever could. And the same exact analogy applies to the business and the 9 to 5. With regards to 9 to 5, it could be chill, easy, and not stressful at all. But the reality is that your role at the end of the day is defined, right? It's stable and predictable, which leads to less control over projects, less control over income progression, and of course, less control over your daily structure. It's kind of like trading hours for a steady paycheck. Imagine working on an assembly line, it's efficient and steady, but you can't really change the pace at which you're working at, nor the product that you're working on. And the reason that I want to bring this up, this variance between assumption and reality, because it wasn't too long ago, about 50, 60 years ago, that smoking was believed to be healthy and was even being promoted by doctors in ads. One of which, smoke a fresh cigarette, give your throat a vacation. So back then, this was the norm. Now we look back, it's simply crazy. So what if the same thing is happening with regards to a business and a 9 to 5? Have we been conditioned to gravitate toward a 9 to 5 while ignoring a business, thinking a business is much harder and more stressful? So let me explain to you why a business is simpler and maybe in some cases easier than any 9 to 5 you could be doing. And I know this is a bold claim, but stay with me. So my friend follows the company's rules and uses all their tools. And if something is slow or annoying, he cannot always change it. He has to follow the chain of command. There's a lot of red tape with whatever it is he will want to do. But in my business, if I see a problem, I can fix it right away. I can hire somebody to handle the tasks that I don't feel like doing. I can use software to automate any boring work. And this means that my actual workload gets lighter over time because I keep making the process better and better. Now, as I mentioned before, my friend is pretty proud of his job, but at the end of the day, the project that he works on belongs to the company. If he leaves, he can't take that work with him. But my business is mine. Every system I build, every relationship I form, and every improvement I make belongs to me and me only. And this not only makes me feel more attached to my work, but also means that I'm always investing in something that will give me more return the next day forward. And it will always be there tomorrow. I don't have to worry about it. And over time, this actually makes running the business feel simpler, not more complicated. And of course, as we already talked about, my friend's salary is pretty great. 275K a year is not bad, but it's still tied to his job. He works a set number of hours and gets paid a set amount. And if he wants more money, he either has to ask for a raise or find another job. And maximum, he'll probably get a 10 to 15% raise at best. And he can't even work overtime because he's paid in W-2, right? So he can't even work overtime because he's on a salary basis. But in my business, I already said one client we onboarded in August has already brought us $408,000 in revenue. And I didn't have to double my hours to earn that. All I did was create value, show my client how I could help them, I generate that value for them, and I took a portion of the value that I generate for them for myself. And that's where we have the $408,000 from. And there's really no limit to how many clients I can have over time, as long as I can properly manage them. And the truth is, once you set up a business to run smoothly, you gain freedom, flexibility, and control, all of which you cannot have with a 9 to 5. You decide your hours, you decide your income, and how you do things. And yes, it's hard at the start, don't get me wrong. But once it's rolling, it can actually feel much simpler than clocking in and out every single day. So the next time that somebody says running a business must be stressful, remember, it might be at first, acknowledge that, but in the long run, it can give you a much easier life than you'd ever expect. But of course, there's a very big caveat to everything that I'm saying, and we'll get into that later, but you have to choose the correct business. We'll get into it later, so keep on watching. But the bottom line is this. 9 to 5, you have stability, but very limited control and very capped upside. A business, there's a hustle initially, a little bit of stress, but the freedom, control, and potential that you have beyond the fixed salary is worth it. And over time, a well-designed business can run smoother and simpler than any day job. A good analogy would be imagine climbing a small hill early to enjoy a long, easy downhill ride. But now you might be wondering, okay, how do I choose this right business that you keep referring to? How do I make sure I choose the right business and not a wrong one? Because I won't lie to you, you can choose a business model that is absolutely stressful and way worse than any 9 to 5 that you can get, right? Such as a traditional software development agency. I talk about this in my other videos. So you have to make the right choice in choosing a business model. Just like in any part of your life, you want to make the right choice and choose the best option. But how do you do so? Well, the best way to do so is actually to utilize your unique advantage. So first and foremost, use your physical location to spot opportunities near you. Talk to local businesses. See if you might have a chamber of commerce, especially if you live in Western Europe or in the United States. Leverage your network to see if you can identify problems where other software engineers are not looking. So lawyers, doctors, manufacturing businesses, logistics businesses, literally chiropractors, dentists, anywhere that you can possibly think of looking where no other software engineer is looking. And you can really go down the rabbit hole here. I had a student of mine whose father was in the shrimping industry. And after we did a little bit of research, got down into the rabbit hole, we found out about aquaculture and specifically AI use in aquaculture. So if you're interested, you can check that out too. And last but not least, you need to take note of your technical and life experiences to see the resources that you have such that you can better utilize them. And this will also help you with imposter syndrome as you list out your accomplishments and see that, okay, I have done X, Y, and Z, I can continue doing, let's say, A, B, C. Now, I want you to pay careful attention because this is the most important part of the video. I have talked with over 100 software engineers in the past few months from all walks of life, from all different experience levels, and from all different parts of the world. I have only met 2 of you who said that they wanted a big business. And by big business, I mean a business over $100 million in annually recurring revenue. Most people were content with simply making over $100,000 a month. So please stick to your local scene, okay? For those of you from first world countries, so anywhere in Western Europe, US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, just focus on your local businesses. Anywhere within a 50-mile radius of your city will work. You can easily scale to $1 million in annually recurring revenue within a year if you find a problem that's actually worth solving. So please don't buy into the lie that you need international clients or that you need to go on X or LinkedIn and network with random people you don't even know hoping that somebody gives you a job. I can tell you from experience, just focus on your local businesses. You can make so much money that it is not even funny. I'll give you a quick example. The city that I'm actually in here in LA, there's a company called Service Titan, and they're literally a few blocks away from me. I can see their main building from my actual window. And funnily enough, they IPO'd a few days ago, and I think they got a $9 billion valuation, which is crazy. The owners, Ara and Vahe, originally built the company, Service Titan, to help their father run a better contracting business, which was a very local problem to them. Actually, it was their family member. And then they used the same exact problem and solution to help other local contractors around the area in my city. And then it continued to grow and grow, pick up pace. And now it's all across the United States, sitting at $9 billion. And the reason that I'm saying this, the reason I'm saying focus on the local market is because most people are what you see on your screen, sheep, okay? They watch one Alex Hermosi video and they regurgitate that exact same information thinking they know it all. So they tell you, go on X, go on LinkedIn, find clients that way, make this AI agent, make this AI bot, whatever the case. Scrap all of that away from your brain. I'm telling you from my own experience, all you need if you want, let's say, $1 to $10 million annually recurring revenue, just focus on local problems, especially if you're from the United States, or even I would say most Western European countries and places like Canada and Australia. Just focus on your local problems, focus on helping local businesses, and you'll see just how much money there actually is in these specific cases. The people who tell you to do these other things, just go and take a look. Do they make more money from their courses or do they make more money from the business? And the main reason I'm saying this is because you need to understand that we as software engineers have a completely different mindset than that of a regular person. And I'm not saying this to say we're better than them or whatever. Pay attention. If I asked a construction company owner, and the reason I'm using this example is because we work a lot with construction companies, roofing, steel, and so on and so forth. But if I asked them how they would fix a certain problem, they always tell me the same exact thing. Oh, I will hire more people, or I'll hire X, or I'll hire Y. I'll never hear them say, I'll automate it, I'll use a software, whatever the case. And most people, not just construction people, most people tend to think of labor leverage whenever they face a certain problem. Their first solution is look for somebody that can solve it. Hire somebody that can solve this problem because I myself don't know how to solve this problem, right? And that's not a wrong way to think about it. In fact, this is what humanity has relied on for thousands of years. But for the first time, this is changing, right? It's been a symbol of status for thousands of years, be it the military, be it the workforce, whatever the case. Labor leverage is what all of humanity has relied on. But for the first time, code leverage and automation is beginning to take over. And as a result, we as software engineers, we might look at the same exact problem, but think of 10 other different ways to solve it using code, be it automation, be it optimization, whatever the case. Hence why it's so crucial for us as software engineers to not underestimate how we view the world, because many businesses that are local to us can be missing out on some of the most elementary solutions because there are no software engineers even looking in their general direction, because they can't be bothered enough to look at local businesses because everybody wants to do the same thing. Tech or fintech, tech or fintech, the next unicorn says, right? So just focus on a local problem, especially I know I've talked to many of you. If you make over $100,000 a month in net profit, you'll be more than happy. So why are you trying to go for these complicated problems, these complicated business models? Just focus on a local scene, see how you can help the local community, and it's not too hard, especially if you're in the States. I can tell you up front, as a business owner who's pretty much over 90% of my clients are local to me within a 50-mile radius, you can easily make up to $10 million in annually recurring revenue if you're solving a proper problem. So with that, I hope this video was helpful. Please, if you have any questions about anything whatsoever, drop them down in the comments below.